Rewind your mind 300,000 years. The Pleistocene epoch, the Ice Age, a time when the price of a single mistake wasn't just a bad day, it was your life. If Mother Nature graded your survival stat sheet, your scores would hit rock bottom. Your skin is as fragile as tissue paper against deadly claws. You have no fangs to tear flesh. You're practically blind the second the sun goes down. And your absolute, lung-busting, top sprint speed? It's basically on par with a sluggish golf cart. Through the eyes of the wild, our ancestors had one very clear identity. You were a fast food meal, one that could walk, and came in extremely easy to peel packaging. No fangs or claws, half blind in the dark, painfully slow. You are prey. Right out of the starting gate, we were never the proud, roaring hunters at the top of the food chain. We were small, terrified creatures huddled in the bushes, holding our breath and praying we wouldn't get our heads chewed off. So how exactly did this walking snack manage to turn the tables? Welcome to Level 1, Nature's Armored Tank. The saber-toothed cat, Smilodon. Weighing in at half a ton, it packs a swipe with the crushing force of a piano dropped from a second-story window right onto your chest. Picture this. It's dusk. Your throat is bone dry. Just ahead, there's a stream. But you don't just blindly sprint for the water. The reeds are too quiet. Still, deadly, suffocating. Instead of letting raw thirst take over, you start reading the ground like a detective. You spot a massive footprint pressed into the wet mud, bigger than your own face. The edges of the track are still slowly caving in. It was just here, less than a minute ago. Then it steps out. The saber-tooth, two 8-inch fangs gleaming like twin daggers, coiled muscles hugging the dirt, ready to pounce. If we followed nature's standard script, you'd panic, bolt, trip, and it would end you in a single heartbeat. Going toe-to-toe at close range? Suicide. You'd be shredded. Hopeless. But no. You rewrite the rules of the game. You step back, establishing a safe distance. Your arm goes up, gripping a Shunningen spear. You aren't holding some random sharpened stick. You're wielding humanity's very first aerodynamic masterpiece. The spear's center of gravity is perfectly front-loaded to the first third of its length. As you hurl it, that heavy tip acts like a self-stabilizing system. The spear doesn't awkwardly tumble or wobble. It slices right through the air, flying dead straight like a heat-seeking missile. From 65 feet away, well out of range of that death swipe, the spear sinks deep into the monster's shoulder. The damage might not kill it instantly, but it's more than enough to force the apex predator to do some math. This prey is dangerous. The risk of injury is just too high. It lets out a furious roar and backs away into the shadows. Long range, pinpoint accurate, overwhelming. And that is how you survive to take that first sip of water. You don't try to match claws with claws. You use your intellect to turn your arm into a missile launcher, and you use your tactical awareness of the scene to ensure you never blindly hand over your life. From that moment on, you stopped being a walking piece of meat. You became an educated ghost. The sun sets, darkness, silence, death. When the light fades, the night shift gang clocks in. Cave hyenas and giant dire wolves. They possess perfect night vision, reflective eyes blinking in and out of the brush. Their bite force can crush your femur as easily as you crunch on a potato chip. And the real nightmare, they never hunt alone. In that pitch-black darkness, what do? You can't just grow night vision eyes, but we possess another ultimate weapon, fire. You grab a blazing branch and swing it high. The flames don't just light up your retinas. They trigger the deepest primal fear hardwired into the DNA of every wild beast. The wolf pack halts. You've just erected an invisible wall, turning the deadly night into a fiery fortress. But dire wolves are incredibly patient. They retreat to the edge of the light, licking their chops, waiting for your fire to die down. You can't just grit your teeth and sit there, taking it all night. To break the siege, you have to unleash a human pack. Wolves have excellent pack instincts, but you have a weapon on a completely different level. Squad-based tactical thinking via language. Listen closely. Around the fire, there are no panicked screams or wild, chaotic charges. Instead, there are sharp, decisive tones. Primitive words ring out, shaping the battlefield. You assign roles right on the razor's edge of life and death, exactly like a special ops team. One group holding torches actively pushes forward to create a diversion. Two others split off, circling around a massive tree to cut off their angles. The rest raise their spears high, completely locking down any route of retreat. Spoken words have linked isolated brains, transforming weak individuals into a systematic, tactical juggernaut. The wolf pack is bewildered. Their survival calculus is flipped upside down. They realize these naked creatures aren't reacting out of fear. They are fighting with a terrifyingly complex formation. Surround, isolate, counterattack. The alpha wolf lets out a frustrated, helpless growl, then turns and flees deep into the shadows, dragging the rest of the pack with it. The night shift gang just learned a bitter lesson. Hunting humans at night is a losing proposition. The final boss on the Savanna, the speed assassins, giant leopards and scimitar-toothed cats, they were the biological supercars of the Ice Age, going from 0 to 60 miles per hour in the blink of an eye. A lethal ambush. You'd stop breathing before you even realized what had happened. But nature always demands a trade-off. To achieve that terrifying speed, their skeletal structure had to be light and fragile. They were glass cannons, terrified of injury, terrified of broken bones, terrified of risk. And your ancestors ruthlessly exploited that psychological weakness. First, you stand upright on 2 legs, not just to free your hands for weapons, but to activate an early warning system. You elevate your line of sight above the tall, wild grass. When you spot the silhouette of a lurking enemy, you don't bolt, because running triggers their predatory instinct. You signal. The human pack instantly clumps together into a solid mass. You wave massive branches. You roar, hurling a barrage of stones forward. You hack directly into the cat's visual processing, merging together to create the illusion of a single, colossal, spiky creature. The cat is forced to halt. The target is too big. The risk is too high. It growls in bitter frustration, drops its center of gravity, and backs down. But your true mastery doesn't stop at mere defense. You step up to become the most brazen thieves of the Pleistocene. Nature stripped away your fur coat, but gifted you millions of pores in return. You are the only creature capable of sweating all over your body. Picture this. When that cat burns all its energy sprinting to take down an antelope, its body temperature skyrockets to a critical level. It is forced to collapse, panting heavily just to keep its brain from boiling from the inside. It can't move a muscle, and that is exactly when you show up. You don't need to be fast, you just casually walk, relentlessly following its trail. You appear right in front of the assassin when it is completely drained. You throw rocks, scream, and casually walk off with the meal it just spent half its life forced to catch. You don't use claws, you weaponize physiological endurance and completely break the will of nature. Spears slicing through the air, firelight banishing the night, or top-tier psychological warfare. Think back on all of that. They are absolute testaments to your extraordinary intelligence and adaptability. But all those weapons and tactics are just the outer shell. They were the brilliant hardware designed to keep your body from getting chewed to pieces on the Savanna. But the true litmus test that defined our species' greatness, the absolute core that elevated humans from struggling survivors to architects of the world, lies somewhere much deeper. Look at these 2 extraordinary fossils, discoveries that sent shockwaves through the field of anthropology. A skull found in Dmanisi, Georgia, an individual who had lost every single tooth long before they died. A Neanderthal skeleton from Shanidar Cave, Iraq, blind in one eye with a shattered arm, severe brain trauma, and a heavy limp. Throughout the brutal history of the wild, the law of survival has always been ice cold. Injury, abandonment, death. A severe handicap means the end of the line. Mother Nature holds no quarter for weakness. An animal that can't hunt for itself is a dead animal. Yet these individuals, they survived countless freezing winters to reach old age. How? When a person no longer had the teeth to chew raw meat, someone else patiently chewed it soft and fed it to them. When a person with a shattered arm could no longer hold a spear to defend themselves, someone stepped up to help them walk, wrapping their arms around them to share body heat through the freezing Ice Age nights. In the wild, your life is measured in muscle and might, but for our species, being disabled didn't mean a death sentence. It meant being cared for. The ultimate software that forged humanity's true power wasn't fire, wasn't the spear, and wasn't our ability to sweat. It was compassion. It was profound community. We survived and climbed to the absolute apex because we flat out refused to leave our weak behind. That unconditional love for our fellow humans became our most impenetrable shield. It created an invisible launchpad, ensuring that even broken bodies were protected, allowing knowledge to be preserved and passed down from generation to generation. It is what drove humanity to evolve into something far greater than any lethal weapon ever could. Today, let's take a look back. Those proud, saber-toothed tanks, those night assassins that struck terror in the dark, they are now nothing but silent skeletons, sitting neatly behind museum glass. And us? We blanket the earth. Evolution didn't hardwire you with a fixed weapon. Instead, it handed you the ultimate power in the universe. Adaptation. Never breaking, never yielding, always evolving. So whatever obstacles you are facing in your modern life right now, a bitter failure, a crushing invisible pressure, or just a deeply exhausting day, remember this. Pulsing through your veins is the most perfect survival DNA ever created. Your ancestors stared down the most brutal ice age with nothing but their bare hands. So, when it comes to the challenges of today, you will absolutely overcome them. Understanding the past is the best way to master the future. If you found value in this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.